Hey, good afternoon. This is Stephen with Iowa Backyard Farmer. We thought we would take a little time today to give you a quick tour of what's going on or what's growing on in our yard today. We're actually starting in the front today, and we have, what do we have here?
Honeyberries.
We have honeyberries. Actually, the whole front of our house is lined with honeyberries. They're a really kind of a pretty shrub that can handle cold and stresses pretty well, and we have several different varieties, but we actually have one that is starting to the fruit is starting to ripen. We have several green ones here, but I'm actually going to take this opportunity and try one out here. That one's pretty good. Our girls like to pick them when they're just a little bit green, and they're pretty bitter as with a lot of fruit if you eat them when they're still green. But this one's pretty tasty. Last year we made some jam out of these.
That was really good. Mixed it with strawberries.
So that one
freezer jam.
It was definitely really good, but for the most part, our issue with these is that the fruit bears kind of inside, further. That's not really on the new growth, so it's a little harder to pick them. But the robins love them, and it seems like the birds in general, if they come after this, they will leave the rest of our fruits and garden plants alone. So kind of I don't know if I'd say a lost leader, but it is an opportunity to keep the birds up here instead of where they could be doing more damage.
Yeah, they like these even better than the blueberries.
That's true, they do. Okay, so we want to go around.
Let's come down here.
I'll come down this way. It's kind of a steep hill. It's kind of fun over here. We told some of the neighborhood girls if they wanted to plant a little garden, they could have some of our extra plants, and so they're shoving some stuff down here underneath.
We've got strawberries, kale, marigolds, snapdragons, thyme, and dill. Bachelor buttons.
Yeah,
around the water barrel.
We brought some compost up here and
planted this up. They've got their own little garden. Got some peppers and parsley and Swiss chard, or Bright Lights chard, a yellow squash, and more strawberries and more flowers.
Yeah. This is kind of fun because it's the neighborhood girls are learning to like stuff. They're learning how to plant stuff, including some weeds I even see.
Yeah, they planted these weeds out of the grass, and they're pretty yellow flowers though.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to see what else we've got here. We do have a lot of hostas and other shade-loving plants here on the north side.
Yeah, there's not very much sunlight on this side of this north side of the house. Yeah. Although I do like this humongous hosta here. These leaves are so huge. Put your hand close to one of those.
Say, how big is that?
They're humongous. But what are we gonna do over here? We've kind of got this bare spot.
Yeah.
Over here, this rain barrel, or is going to be a rain barrel, needs to come back over here.
Need to hook up about 1,200 gallons worth of rainwater storage off of this corner of our house.
To move a few things around.
Yeah. Wouldn't be any fun if we didn't have to move stuff around all the time.
I've never tried that plan. It might be fun.
Yeah, that's true. Step across our little muddy area right underneath our tree, kind of at the bottom of the hill. This tree gets a lot of the rainwater runoff from about 2/3 of the house, and it absolutely loves.
Yeah, it is not hurting in any way. Look how tall this thing is.
Nelson, this is one we planted too, when it right after we moved in here.
Yeah.
So just kind of coming around. We have a lot of interesting things. We've got an elderberry where we
our glorious compost.
Yeah, our compost, and an elderberry that
rooted.
It rooted, had been in a pot, and then it rooted through the holes in the pot. And when we moved the pot,
stayed.
I remember ripping up thinking, man, there's a chunk of root stuck in the ground here, and then the next year up pops the plant.
Yep. So it makes the compost look more beautiful.
Yep. So we come along and
the escape strawberry bed.
Escape strawberries. We used to have strawberries in the raised bed inside of the fence, and
now they're outside
now
the
they're
fence.
On the outside of the fence. We only intended to keep them in there for a year or two, and they jumped out and came through and have really filled in this spot pretty well. It was not what we had intended. There's a lot of grass and stuff, but
they're happy, so I'm happy.
Plants seem to be happy, so we will definitely harvest those this year, and then we'll decide what we're going to do with them.
Yep.
Okay, now what do you want to do?
This is my fun spot under the Got more hostas and daylilies and stuff around here. These are not the edible parts, but they're sure pretty. This could have been a wasted space just under the deck where there's no sunshine. But again, we've got hostas and ferns and lily of the valley and all sorts of things, and it just takes up this whole shady spot that otherwise would not be doing anything other than, I mean, it's really, really shady under there. And our plant sale prep area, it's kind of nice. Still got lots of stuff in the greenhouses. Just anxiously waiting. Hopefully this weekend we'll be able to consolidate down and get to where we can take a greenhouse down and plant our stuff in it, in our garden beds.
Coming around here, we've got peas growing in a bucket.
Yeah, when you don't have a garden space, anything works, right? So everything we've got growing, it's in a garden bucket. These are shell peas. And remember the Clancy potatoes? We planted them from seed, and now they're outgrowing again in buckets and looking totally happy. Got a line of potato buckets there. They're kind of a pinky small potato.
Yeah.
What do you find?
Oh, I'm just trying to look and see if we've got anything on this apple tree. Last year was the first year that it fruited, and I know we had some late frost and freezes this year, and I don't know, I don't see any hint that we're going to get any apples off of it this year, but sure were good last year.
Yeah.
If we kind of come over here, we can see our
Is this a bubblegum plum?
no, this is our alder plum.
Alder plum.
And I know I've seen some fruit on it somewhere. Do you
Yeah,
happen to
little-
see any?
Little fruits
There's some
there.
little fruits here or there, so it's
Trying.
pollinated pretty well. We do have fruit all over it, and
See who gets it, the bugs or us.
yeah. And I'm seeing some spots on here, so we'll have to get that taken care of. We've got several currant bushes, and I can see that we have some currants growing on this little one, and this is one that just last year started to get big enough to actually produce some fruit. It's not in the best spot, but it seems like it's pretty happy right now.
Yeah. Lots of chives.
Lots of chives.
Happy chives. Tell me about the barrels over there.
Now,
Buckets.
even before we get to the barrels, let's take a look at this. This is comp-free. It's the kind that does not spread by seed. You have to spread it by root, and it does have some really pretty flowers.
The bumblebees love it.
And it'll get pretty tall, but it gets much taller than this, and it's just going to flop over. So we'll be cutting a lot of this down here pretty soon, so that it stays looking good.
Yeah, we cut them down about 4 times a year, and they bounce right back and grow. They used to be around all our fruit trees, and then some of the fruit trees got taken out by voles and rabbits, and so the comfrey stays. We'll see. Here's another currant. This is a black currant. You can see it fruits a little differently, but it's totally loaded with currants.
Yep. Let's come up here to our blueberry patch. We have several different varieties of blueberries, so that we could have our harvest spread throughout the bulk of the summer. But this one's pretty loaded. Looks really good. We've had pretty good pollination rates here.
Yeah, we got lots of hummingbirds and bumblebees. All of those flowers turn into a fruit, or become a fruit. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, a whole bunch. See, and they come on at all different times. So this one's a little further ahead, not so many flowers, but a whole lot more fruit. So we'll get to pick the fruit for a long time.
Yep. And over here we've got one of our Blackberry Trellises, and do need to clean up the
Yeah, I see these.
last year's growth that didn't survive the kind of the late hard freeze that we had this year.
But it's coming back up again. And then all these are more blueberries. You can see in there. And blueberries can be tricky to grow, but we've had really good results since we started applying sulfur in the fall. Lots of new growth on them.
Yep, and you can kind of tell just the different different stages. Some of the ones we've seen actually have blueberries that you can recognize as blueberries. Some of them are really in full flower, and some of them have not even, are just barely starting to flower.
Yeah. So we'll get several months worth of blueberry harvest. This one's kind of behind. It's just starting to flower.
Yep.
It's starting to flower. This big shed is all rain barrels in there. There's 4 55-gallon barrels in there. It's connected to the roof here. It has a first flush system. It'll wash all the junk out. You can let it out there, and then these barrels that are in there will fill out, and then there's a hose attached. So we have free rainwater.
Yep, so every time it rains, we'll get about 200 gallons in there, and then we use that primarily for the blueberries and the blackberries.
All the close fruits right here.
Yeah, all the close stuff here. So if we come up around here, what is this one?
This is a gummy berry, I don't know how you pronounce it.
Yeah, I say gummy berry. Oh, and we've got a frog jumping through here too, trying to get away from us.
I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
Well, this one has fruits on it too. Birds like these. They turn kind of an orangey red when they're all ready to go. This bush has thorns on it though, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, it does have some thorns on it, but
It doesn't stop the rabbits from tunnelling under and everything. A little landslide in the mud there.
Yeah.
Beautiful lilac bushes in full bloom.
Yep.
Covering up, what did you put out here?
So this was a new rhubarb that we bought this last fall, or this last year, called Kangaroo Rhubarb. It's supposed to handle the heat much better, and I actually planted this about 2 feet from the closest growth just earlier this year, and look how much that
It exploded. We're gonna have to move the rhubarb.
yeah, I didn't expect it to grow that far out here, but we'll have to move the rhubarb now because the lilacs got a lot bigger than I thought they were going to.
Yep. Over here. This is the neglected part of our yard. Nobody gets around to this side, but we're trying a couple things. These are
boysenberries.
Boysenberries. I love boysenberries.
So they are technically a zone 6, and we are in a zone 5, but this is here on the south side of our house, which generally reflects quite a bit of heat. So thought we would give them a try to see if they would overwinter, and they did make it through this winter, and all 3 plants look pretty good. The furthest one up here is just loaded with blossoms. So
yeah.
Hopefully we will be able to get some our first boysenberries this spring.
What did you put in the buckets?
The buckets here are my attempt at doing asparagus in a container. We've tried asparagus a couple places in the past, but they weren't in a good spot. And so I had some containers, thought we would give this a try, and we'll let you know how that goes.
Yeah. All right, well, let's head back this way. That's not as much fun stuff out here. That was it. Another gummy berry here. This one is pretty big. The rabbits really like to eat it, but it's vigorous enough that it keeps coming back. You can see all the fruit on there.
Yep.
We've got a whole bunch more potato barrels here.
So we've not been very faithful at getting our potatoes planted on time. Some of them were planted fairly early, some are a little later.
Somewhere this last week.
Yeah, and some of them are not yet planted. We need to get that taken care of.
It's busy in the spring.
But you can certainly tell the ones that were first planted in these barrels. They're 15-gallon barrels, and we planted was it like 6 or 7 varieties across all of these. And so looking forward to seeing how they grow in these big tubs like this.
Yeah, here's one of my favorite flavors over here from the garden.
So this we've got our grapes over here on this end, and our grape plants seem to be just loaded this year with grapes. We're really excited.
Just little clusters everywhere. Most of these are Concord grapes.
Yeah, everything on this side is supposedly a Concord grape, but I think
there's one that's not.
I think there's one that was mislabeled.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but it's delicious too.
After 5 years after planting it, we'll keep it.
Yeah. And In the orchard wing here, what have we got here?
So this is our Bartlett pear.
And I did see flowers on this earlier.
And
I
this
don't know
one
if
I
any...
see some flowers over here.
There's some fruit over here.
Yeah, and some fruit here.
So it's doing good. Late freeze kind of took out some things, but there's little pears in here everywhere. It's kind of fun. I'm gonna duck under here. It's a little hard to get around. Whew. Can you make it?
I can. But if
Oh,
I'm
you're
here-
finding weeds on this floor.
So, and then over here we have our Asian pear tree, and it's looking pretty happy right now. Let's see if there's any fruit on it. Yeah, I don't know.
It's in there somewhere. We'll
Usually
find
there
it
is,
later.
and it did flower pretty good this spring, but I have not seen anything on there yet. But yeah, coming in right just underneath it, we do have more currants, and
They're stacked in there pretty good, and everything that's a nice understory plant will take some shade. More comfrey, and then this huge tangle back here. What is this?
So back here we have a couple of different types of elderberry plants. We have one that just
and one pear tree.
spreads. Yeah, one pear
One
tree
little
that we
pear
keep
tree.
trying to keep the elderberries from swallowing up.
Is that a red pear? I think it's a red pear.
I think that is red pear. Yeah.
But the elderberries are gorgeous when they bloom. The birds get all the fruit, most of the fruit. I think I got 2 cups last year, but
Yeah.
they're beautiful.
So kind of spread throughout here, we do have some lower lying bushes. So we've got rhubarb in a
Rhubarb.
number of places.
And a weed that looks like rhubarb. This is not rhubarb. It's amazing how weeds can mimic things.
Yeah.
And there's little plots of rhubarb everywhere. And we got some little peaches on there.
So yeah, we've got some peaches on this, our peach tree here.
Just starting.
And last year this was loaded. I was afraid we were going to lose most of the branches because it was so heavily loaded. Ended up we didn't lose any of them, and did prune it back to pull the fruiting parts back into the center of the tree this winter. So we'll see how much we get this year. Again, had that late freeze, so we may have lost some from that, but do still see some of them this year. So looking forward to them. Nothing better tasting than peaches right off your own peach tree.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, how do we get out of here?
So let's come back.
More potato buckets. And hop over the rhubarb and around another currant bush. More comfrey. You can get lost in here in the summer when it's all.
Oh, little baby rabbit.
Yeah, we do have baby rabbits everywhere.
So, in addition to the 15-gallon totes, here we do have some 5-gallon buckets of potatoes as well. Tried a little different planting method for those, and if that works out, we'll post a video on that as well.
Yeah, we're waiting for results first. We'll make sure
Yeah.
it works.
So down here we have a number of different types of trees. This one is, I don't remember.
It's a cherry plum.
It's a cherry plum, and just barely planted it over here and need to get it mulched, but so far so good.
Let's take a hike down here. All this is a pretty steep slope, and so lots of years ago we planted daylilies on it to kind of hold the slope, and so we don't have to mow. So you got the big trees and the daylilies, but we've planted some other things in there, so I'll go show you.
Okay, and what is this one?
That's a Hazelbert.
So we've got, what, 2 or 3 Hazelbert trees or shrubs here growing kind of in the middle of the slope. And this is the first year where we've actually seen
Tremendous growth on it.
tremendous
It flowered.
growth, yeah. Looks like it's actually flowered this year.
And what's down at the
Wanna
bottom
go down
here?
to the bottom, keep on going. So down here towards the bottom, we have several of these. This is an American cranberry.
High bush cranberry.
Yep,
This one's not flowering, but that one is.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Some of them are older than others.
That's true. The one we just looked at is a year older than this. This one's what is this? 3 years old.
3 years old.
But it's looking pretty good.
Get lots of flowers on that. And a caterpillar of some sort.
Oh boy. He's saying, let me go.
See, we tried to make trails through here last year, but they keep filling in.
Yeah, I need to come through and trim those back down again. Over here is our Liberty apple tree. It's just getting to the stage where I think it should fruit it would either be this year or next year. It's one of the few trees that it's been pretty carefree, so I really like it. Just waiting for it to get old enough to actually provide some apples for us.
Yeah, fruit would be good. Another Hazelbert here.
Yep, another Hazelbert.
And in between all the daylilies, there's daffodils and these iris here. The slope stays pretty covered in flowers all season long. It's been really pretty. And occasional weeds. Are you picking weeds in the middle of our tour?
Yeah, I can't walk out here, and if I see especially the
Morning glory.
the morning glory or field bindweed, I have to get it, and that's not something I just pull and lay out. That's something I pull and actually put in my pocket and take it to the trash.
Yeah, 'tis the season. When it's rainy like this, it's a good time for pulling weeds. Yeah, this is our big climbing tree. Stephen keeps this one pruned so that we can climb up into it. And the kids really like this. You can climb way up into this tree and have a fun time. We've got all sorts of flowers and things around it, and some wild garlic that we got. And I keep thinking I harvest it and get it all, and it keeps coming back about this thick, so apparently I'm missing something.
So we had 4 grapevines over on the other side of the property that we put in several years ago. These are only about 2 years old, maybe 3 years old, and so they're just barely starting to produce fruit. We got maybe a cup worth of grapes.
Oh, we got more than that,
Yeah,
but
a couple cups out of the 4 plants that we have here. Not very much compared to the other ones, but they're again a year or two younger.
yeah, but they're coming, and they're delicious. They're a tiny little pink one over here that I love.
So this one looks loaded all the way up. So we have trails through here that we're trying to keep maintained. One of the things I did this last year just to try something new is put the occasional raspberry plants on both sides of the trail, and I thought most of those had died, but they actually all came back. And so kids, as they're walking through here, once the raspberries start to ripen, can just grab one as they're running along the trail.
Find a surprise treat. And if you get tired like me, you can sit on the bench. It's a fun place to sit and visit in the evening.
Yeah, so the rest of the trail looks kind of like what we've already covered. We've got several more of the high bush cranberries.
Oh.
You want to come on?
Yeah, we'll just keep going through.
Going?
We'll just do it faster.
Yep.
See the irises. There's one of your
several of the raspberries.
bonus raspberries. These trees are getting big fast though.
Christmas trees, when we planted these a few years ago, they're about this high.
We still cover them with lights every year, but it's getting harder and harder to get to the top.
So, more of the high bush cranberries. Really pretty. I didn't
They are
realize how
really pretty.
The flowers were.
They're just beginning to bloom. Pretty irises everywhere, and these white plants are protecting pawpaw trees. I don't know if you can see that in there, but they need a little bit of shade, so they're in those protective collars until they get a little bit taller. And another high bush cranberry.
So this one's getting pretty tall.
Yeah, it's almost as tall as you are now.
Yeah.
Just takes a couple years.
And another one.
And another one. I really like pretty things that bloom. Here we've got peonies that are just getting ready to bloom. Yeah. All over in here. Like that. And another stowaway elderberry.
Yeah, that's when I tried to. That was my very first attempt at starting an elderberry from another one, and it worked pretty well.
Another elderberry.
I guess actually this was my first attempt.
That was the second attempt. So, go over there. This is our path behind all the Christmas trees. Lots of hidden treasures back here. Lots of peonies, plants, elderberries on the other side of the fence.
Yeah, those are ones that we gave to our neighbor in hopes that they would help the plants on our side to get pollinated.
Yep, there's plenty here.
And look at this one.
Oh, this is a fun tree. This is a service berry. You can see it's almost done blooming here.
Yeah, this will
and
be
covered with fruit.
This will be our first year to get some fruit off of this one.
You call it a Juneberry, Saskatoon, service berry, all those things.
Yep.
They're kind of fun. And here's our rhubarb beds. And it looks like somebody needs a rhubarb pie, because
yeah, I would take.
You would take a rhubarb pie. Usually we can kind of dodge through there, but I think we'll take the path behind the garden.
Yeah. So a couple of years ago, we built these trellises in an attempt to grow hardy kiwis. And so we've got 5 hardy kiwi plants, 1 male, 4 females, and they're fairly susceptible to frost. So anytime we get a late frost, the leaves all fall off. But so far, every year that has happened, they come back again, and still that same year. And so this is one I need to get it.
There's a nest in that one. Have you seen
properly
that?
Tied, but there is a.
Hold the nest up, or the.
There's a nest up in here in this one. Let's see if we can see that at all very well. Kind of fun. Curious what's going to be in there.
Yeah, there's lots of fun wildlife here. We've seen frogs already, and rabbits, and lots of birds. Back here, these are built to be cold frames, but I haven't used them that way yet. Our garlic beds. We got garlic. Here's another kiwi. You can see.
This one's flowering.
This one's flowering, and it's got a cool variegated leaf on it. Can't remember which ones that's called, but it's pretty. More garlic. More kiwi. Every one of these at a post has a kiwi and a third garlic bed. And over here, we've kind of got a mess. What have we got in here?
You're the one who planted. You tell me. Are those the artichokes?
The Jerusalem artichokes, sunchokes. And it looks like, is that a currant? No, that's a tree.
This is a tree.
Okay, so volunteer tree.
Get pulled up.
Runaway raspberries behind the bed, and kiwi vines growing everywhere. It's kind of a little tangle here. Back behind here.
Watch your steps
there.
And then the last of the hardy kiwis here.
It's trying to grow back up the vine here. Get it right one of these years.
Where do you want to go from here?
You can go in here. I've got peas in here. So one of my few garden beds that's available. There's peas in here and all my green beans ready to plant as soon as the greenhouses come down. So they're just waiting in line. Oh, lots of volunteer things in here. Whoa. And the peas are loving this cold, wet weather. You can see they're flowering, they're starting to fruit. I love a good snap pea. All right. Ooh, more blackberries. Every year we try and get rid of them here, but I kind of like them. They're really good to taste when you get close up. All right, what have you got?
Oh, just around here, we have a bunch of Aronia berries.
This is a flowering quince.
Yep. So flowering quince, that's really pretty when it flowers. We've passed that point, but we have a couple different types of Aronia berries, and this year they are just absolutely loaded.
They make a really good syrup, pancake syrup.
Yeah, you can probably see we do have chicken wire around them because the rabbits like them too.
Yes, the rabbits do. And a bunch of bags. We run out of garden space, so we'll plant these bags with stuff too. Put them somewhere. Lots of Aronia berries back here. And raspberries that got moved. They're going to actually end up on the north side of the house.
Yeah, so it's just a holding spot. Maybe either later today or this next week we will get them planted where they actually need to go.
Yep. And then to the front side of the trail here. Come back around. A lot of native plants and fun things. There's currants stuck in there.
Buried in there, yeah.
Lots of irises, echinacea. Fun stuff. It's not all blooming yet. Oh, and a baby rabbit.
There goes the baby rabbit.
Where'd my baby rabbit go? Another great big currant bush. Another black currant. And lots of things right around here. I'll scare that little baby. Where'd he go?
Yeah, you want to say anything about any of the types of plants here?
Most of them are trying to go wild. Yeah, bee balm and lemon balm and asters and echinacea, and they're all fighting yarrow. Somewhere in here escaped some garlic chives. It's kind of a lot of escaped thing. Oh, 2 baby bunnies.
Oh, yay.
'Tis the season. They're all over the yard. Yep, there they go. They'll come back. And the irises, they just smell lovely this time of year. And a different kind of currant. It's still a black currant, but you can see it fruits and leaves are quite a bit different than the other ones.
So this one is a Crandall.
Crandall?
Epic Crandall.
And this is Red Lake currant here. Looks like it had a lot of fruit and then somebody's been munching on it. There'll still be plenty for us. And I think that's about where we end up, right?
That's about it. Just first time seeing pine cones down this low on this tree. And it'll be fun to watch those open up. Our kids love to pick them and play with them as well.
Yep. Well, I hope you enjoyed this tour from the backyard. We'll talk to you later.
Yep, bye-bye.
Bye.